So today we are going to talk about XML Data Provider. What this class does is basically it enables us to bind to XML data using pure XAML code. As shown in this diagram, we have an XML data source, then we have the XML Data Provider that sits in between, and the UI. So UI gets bind to XML data through XML Data Provider. That being said, so it's going to be a three-step process. First, we're going to create an XML file. Then we're going to reference the XML Data Provider. And last but not the least, we're going to bind the UI to our source using XML Data Provider. That being said, let's continue with our demo. I'm going to add a new solution here. New project, I'm sorry. I'm going to select WPF.NET Framework. I'm going to call this WPF XML Data Provider Demo. Hit OK. And let's set this as our startup project. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is add an XML file. So we need to right click on our project, select add new item. And from the dialog box, we're going to scroll all the way down to the third option up. I'm going to rename this as my contacts. Okay, click add. All right, so we have our, thanks to Visual Studio, we have our first line of code for our XML file. So I'm going to start with creating a root element, and I'm going to call this root. Simple enough. Next, I'm going to create a child node, and it's going to be called contact. I'm going to give it an attribute ID and set it to 1. So it's like ID of 1. All right. If you're familiar with XML, that's great. Otherwise, just follow along. You can repeat the process for yourself. And next element or node is going to be name. I'm going to go with infamous John Doe. And next one is going to be gender. And it's going to be male. And I'm going to have a contact info child node. And this is going to contain 2 info child nodes. And I'm going to give it an attribute type. I'm going to call this cell. It's going to be a cell phone number. And give it a dummy number. And next one is going to be work. Work number. Okay, again, another dummy number. Okay, so first record is ready. I'm going to copy and paste. Make some changes here. Make it ID 2. Let's change name to Jane. Gender to female. slight changes in the phone number so we can tell the difference, and save this. So that should do it. The XML file should be okay for now. We have two records. Back to our main. Going to flip my panes as usual and resize my panes. Alright, so here first thing we like to do is create a window.resources tag to whoopsie. Resources, and we're going to call our XML data provider here. And this has a source property. We're going to set this to our XML file we just created. My contacts.xml. And I'm going to give it a key to reference it when we need it. XML, just gonna say XML DP for XML Data Provider in short, and close it out. Okay, at this point our XML file should be live in here. To test this, we can just create a list box. Let's get a background of beige and font size of 20. Let's close this out. Okay, the list box is there. So let's go ahead and set the item source to binding. And the source of this binding is going to be static resource XML DP XML Data Provider. So again, as we set that item source, we can see data pulled in. Let's run this and see what we have. All the data inside our XML file, everything is here. Everything that's in there, it's pulled in one single line. So we have the data, but that's not the desired result we want. Typically, we're going to want to list them as list items. Each record in its own line. So between the static resources ending curly braces and the last curly braces, we're going to say comma. I'm going to bring it down. We need to set the XPath to root. When referencing XML nodes, we have to match the case, the uppercase, lowercase. And I'm going to say get everything that's under the root element. It's going to go and get the two records that we have inside the root node or element. So we have both records on separate lines now. Okay, so that's gonna do it for this example. For the next example, I'm going to split this grid into 4 separate boxes. I'm going to say grid.column definitions, column definitions, and add 2 columns here. First one, and column definitions 2, second one, and then 2 rows. Row definitions, row definitions 1, row definitions 2. Okay, so our grid is ready. Let's continue with the next example. For this one, I like to display only the names in my list box. So let's say, let me put a comment here, names only. So I'm going to add another list box here, and it's going to go over here to the second row, first column. So I'm going to set the row. Column can stay as it is because it's the first column. So I'm going to change the row to grid.row to 1. And get a background of light blue. Let's bring that down below here and close this. Okay, list box in the right place. I'm going to set the, font size. Let's go with 20 again. And let's set the item source. It's going to be the same item source as the first list box. Binding source, static resource, XML Data Provider. Actually resize this here so we can have a little more space for the code, hopefully without scrolling too much. Decrease the font size a little bit. Okay, that's better, I think. And let's bring that list box into view and increase zoom in a little bit. Okay, so basically we are at square one as we started up here. So again, we are going to need to set the XPath property to root dot contact, root/contact. So doing this and star actually the same thing. Star means get all the child elements under the root. And here we are saying, because the main child element under the root is the contact element. So we have contact that covers all this stuff. It's under the root. So okay. So basically getting the same result whether by typing star or the node name. Okay, so we're going to set a property called display member path, and we're going to set this to the property we want to display. In our case, it's the name node we want to display. So it's getting this whole information, but it's only displaying the name node here. Okay. So let's run this and test it out. Okay, we got the desired result. So that's it for the second example. Let's go to third example. In this one, we want to display only the ID attributes. Display IDs only. Okay, let's comment this out and add another list box. Let's close this out for a second, and we want to add the next list box up here. So I'm going to say grid dot column 1. I don't need to set the row because it's the first row. Let's get a background color of orange. Okay. and font size 20. Let's call our, again, item source. Item panel. So item source is going to be the same. Binding and set the source to static resource XML DP. And comma and the path. That's it, path. Again, this time I'm going to do a little different here. I'm going to say star slash star. Again, star slash star. And something didn't work out right here. Okay, star is not going to work in this instance, I think. No, because I didn't call the XPath, I called path. Alright, so star slash star. And we got the same result as these other two examples. Okay, but for this one, I'd like to set the display member path to the ID attribute. So in order to use the ID attribute, we're going to need to use the @ symbol at ID. So instead of just calling plain name, we need to use the symbol to signify that it's an attribute, not just the element. Okay, so as soon as we do that, we get all the IDs we have in our contacts. So we have ID 1, ID 2. Okay, so that's it for our third example. For the fourth example, let's call this. Let's display its phone numbers. It's going to be the grandchildren of the root element and child to contact info. All right, let's say phone numbers. Comment this out. And I'm going to say, I'm going to add another list box. Let's get it back. Grid.column1, grid.row1, as this is going to be here. Going to get a background again, and let's go with light green this time. Close this up, make sure it's in the right place. Okay, we got that right. And let's set our item source. Again, it's going to be binding source static resource XML DP font size. Forget the font size. 20. And XPath, this time it's going to be root, oopsie, XPath root, going to go from there, it's going to grab the contact, and then after contact we have the contact info, so we need the children of contact info, so contact info slash, we got it, but we're getting two phone numbers in one line. We need to separate those. Slash zero star, and that's going to take care of that. So you're going root contact info slash star slash in between each of them. Let's test this out. And we have all the information we need based on what we are looking for. Alright, this should be it for this demo. In the next demo, we're going to look at filtering the data. Alright, thanks for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe. Alright, thank you very much. Appreciate it.